All right guys, so like I left off on that other video, I'm gonna remove this cap corner right now. I'm gonna hammer it down with a hammer, see exactly what's good and what's not. I'll probably go right under the trims, but again, I'll have to double check how strong and sturdy this is because it is pretty rusted out. But I'm pretty much just gonna make my cut down this edge right here straight down, and then come straight out here, and then probably come back down here. From the looks of it on the inside, it does look pretty rusted. It kind of gives us an idea that actually I might have to come up here. And thankfully, the cap corner that we have here does have the whole backside to it, so you know it won't be bad to kind of come off here and then downwards. The bed is, I believe, unbolted, so I'll be able to push it back a little more to give myself some more room. Alright guys, so we can see that it's pretty solid. That's just, I mean, obviously any metal that you hit will kind of hit, you know, crumble up like this. And as you can see under the paint, it doesn't seem to be rusted, but because that is damaged now, I will follow my initial thing where I said I'm gonna go ahead and go down this line under the trim, come a little bit back here, and then come downwards. But I will require it for the bed to get scooted back. So I am by myself, hopefully I can handle this. I'm gonna go ahead and just scoot the bed back a little bit and then try to give myself more clearance. Okay, so I scooted it back as much as I could. Again, I am by myself, so it wasn't much, but I just realized that I do have this smaller grinder that I can use to make my cuts in the inside, and just use my big grinder to make my cuts on the outside. So let's go ahead and put our safety first. I'm gonna go ahead and trace it on with some tape lines, go with the marker, take off the tape, and then pretty much begin cutting this cap corner. Alright guys, so I went ahead and cleaned up a bit because all that dust and rust, I mean there's still some trash here, but cleaned up the main work area. Now I was able to go ahead and get the cap corner cut. I did trim off some of the excess that was pretty bad as well. This rust here, I'm not liking what it looks like. I'm gonna make a quick trip to the paint supply store. After that, I will head over to Harbor Freight and buy the new air chisel. So guys, I'll get y'all back in tune once we got our stuff. All right guys, so let's check it out. Let's see a couple of goodies we got. I went ahead and stocked up on some nitro gloves, just because whenever we're dealing with the rust killer, we don't want to get that on our hands. I went ahead and bought the cheap welding card that they had at Harbor Freight. I wanted to test this one out. There was another one that was, I believe, this one here was around like 50 bucks, but they did have one that was almost $200, but it had actual drawers. And it was a real nice setup, and it was really catching my attention, but right now it's not in the budget, so I settled for this one. Figured we can upgrade it later down the road, but it'll help us get the job done. I did need some of these star point socket sets. I did go with the 1/2 inch just because it did offer more variety, but I also went ahead and picked up some more adapters just so that I can use, you know, if I need to use these on a smaller ratchet or like a 3/8 or a 1/4, which I highly doubt, but more than likely a 3/8, you know, we can go ahead and adapt them to it. So I picked up another set of these because the ones I had kind of got lost, so let's hope these last. I did pick up some magnetic welding holders just to kind of place the rocker panels where I'm gonna need them. I bought 2 sets of these. Hopefully they're useful. If not, thankfully we can always return them, so that's the beauty of Harbor Freight. I did buy some detail brush set, and then it says soft grip white brush set. So basically these are smaller ones for smaller areas when we're dealing with small rust patches, and when we're dealing with something a little bit bigger, I did get these bigger brushes. So I got one of each. This is the through primer that I went through earlier, the rust killer. This is the new, this wasn't, well, no, yeah, this one was, I believe, the top of the line one that they had. The other one was a long barrel. This one here's a medium barrel. But it's a nice air hammer. It is the cheap brand, which is the higher end brand compared to the Central Pneumatic. So let's hope this baby here gets the job done. And of course, I did have to get a welding blanket because we don't want the carpet, the seats, anything to catch on fire while we're doing those rocker panels. All right, guys, so maybe a little hard to tell. Maybe it isn't, but as you can see, it's nice and wet. I went ahead and hit everything that had rust with the brush and the rust killer. But it does say to let sit overnight, so maybe it's just something that requires time. So I will let it go ahead and sit overnight. It is fairly dark out here already, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean up my workstation. I will leave this here because I removed my gloves already. I don't want to touch it, and I don't think there's any issues with leaving it outside. We do have a roof. But yes, guys, tomorrow I will come back and show you exactly how this is looking. All right, guys, so it's the next day, and as y'all can see, the rust, it did turn black, so that's a really good sign. That means that the zinc activated and it turned pretty much all of the rust into paintable rust. So now the next step is going to be, well, that's pretty much sealed off, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. The next step is just gonna be to prep the metal on these edges to bare metal so that I can make good contact with the welder. And then once I do that, I'll apply some weld through primer, and then I will have to go ahead and make my cuts on this piece right here as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that. So guys, as I'm looking under here, most of this metal here, I mean the floor as well, but most of this metal here is pretty rusted out, and I don't think I will be able to weld to it because it's pretty bad. So what I think I'm gonna end up having to do is I will probably go ahead and have to trim off. Well, first measure how high I'm going, and then trim off this piece right here, figure out how long this needs to be, and pretty much recreate this bottom panel with some sheet metal that I have up to the side. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start taking measurements on this side, see how long downwards I need to go and how the bend needs to be. I do have a sheet metal bender, so that'll help make this process easier, but let's go ahead and start doing that. All right, so I did my measurements, and I'm gonna be doing 2 inches right here, and then it's 1 inch on the lip. So what I did is I measured 3 inches because it'll be 2 inches and then 1 inch for the bend. I went ahead and marked my white dots, couple white dots along, and then just ran the tape through just to get a nice straight line. So now with the cutoff wheel, I'm gonna go ahead and trim this off. All right, guys, so as y'all can see, I went ahead and trimmed off all that rusted metal, which I actually have laying here. And this is the bottom piece that I was telling y'all about. I don't think there's any way we can weld on to this here. It's just, it was just destroyed, really rusted, and all these excess little sheet metal pieces that were stuck on there. I guess this is where the spot welds were from the original rocker panel that's right there. So this is a new piece right here, which, like I said, it is a 3 inch, in height. And this one here is 2 inches. So if we actually mock this one up backwards like this. Sorry guys, I know the angles are pretty bad right now. It's pretty crooked. It's kind of crooked over there. But if we line up most of it, it'll show us that this excess little piece here is what's gonna have to get bent at a, what is this, a 90-degree angle to create that L shape. And then this is gonna be what we then weld on to this bottom piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and focus on getting my measurements again, getting the 2 inches, marking with dots, putting the tape, and then getting ready to go ahead and bend this. So yeah, let's get to it, guys. All right guys, so I went ahead and put some magnets to kind of hold the piece where it's gonna be welded, and it does sit fairly nice. The sheet metal was a bit wavy, so there are a couple areas where I'm gonna have to like press it in and then do my weld. But as far as that, bottom's looking nice. Obviously I bent it on the vice grip because my sheet metal bender wasn't long enough, and I didn't want to cut it in half and bend one side then another, because then I would have to add additional welds in the middle. So I figured the longer I can keep the piece without having to make multiple small little welds, the better, just to make it the job easier. But now what I'm gonna do is, now that I see it fits pretty nice, I'm gonna remove those magnets. I'm gonna go ahead and grind down the top part of this sheet metal, and then grind the actual cab as well. Once I have that grinded down, I'll apply some weld through primer on everything, and then start doing my tacks just to hold it in place, and then I'll go along and beat it up. So yeah guys, I'm gonna go ahead and set y'all up on a time lapse once I start welding. All right, so I went ahead and applied the weld through primer on the metal piece and on the inner structure piece as well. So I'm just go ahead and let these cure for a little bit. All right guys, so I went ahead and welded that inner piece, and as you can see, I went ahead and viced it. One of the mistakes I realized that I made was my cuts were not as precise, and as you can see, there's some pretty big gaps. That's pretty bad. And then I was able to make some good contact on this side, so I did a couple tacks. I understand my tack welds are pretty ugly, and you know, it's my first time doing it, so I'm learning. I did some test runs right there, but what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna grind these down smooth, and then I am gonna fiberglass over all of this, so that will take care of all the gaps and make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. So now what I'm gonna do is just kind of grind down the whole surface to make it nice and rough, and then start applying my body filler to start knocking out that body work right there. So yeah guys, I'm gonna go ahead and start doing that. All right, so quick update. I was able to go ahead and get a couple more tacks in. Right here I did drag it to go ahead and connect them, just for more structural integrity, because it was pretty loose. But now it's pretty firm. It's still loose because from the bottom it hasn't been tacked yet, so only the top has been tacked, but it's sitting pretty nice. I went ahead and grinded down my welds, and I got everything to bare metal. So the next thing I'm gonna do right now is go ahead and apply the fiberglass body filler, and pretty much just apply a nice little thick coat right here, and then that should be ready to go. All right guys, it did get a little dark out, but you know, I have the headlamp and the flash on, so hopefully that helps us get a better view. But down here I went ahead and hit it with the fiberglass body filler, so that closed up the gaps nicely. I did go ahead and grind down the welds some more with this disc right here. It's I really can't tell the specs on it, but it's a DeWalt disc. My boy Charlie gave it to me when he was here. Charlie Panetta, shout out to my boy. He gave me a couple of these discs and they were nice and thick, so I actually hit all the welds with it, and as y'all can see, it did flatten them out. So I did get the cap corner on as well. Now the focus is gonna be on applying the same thing, that fiberglass filler on the inside and on the outside, and right here pretty much just to feather everything off nicely. There is some more like 3M old adhesive from the trim that's left, so I will have to get rid of that. But I mean, other than that, guys, I feel like it's turning out fairly nice. I still have to go at the bottom and do my tack welds as well, to the actual new panel that I welded on there as well. And then I have to go down here and do a couple more welds as well to attach this and secure it. But I do want to jack it up just because my back has been killing me from being bent all kinds of crazy ways. But yeah, guys, I think this is where I'm gonna wrap up this first video. I know I did unpack a lot, and the next clips will be tackling the other rocker panel, which, let me walk y'all over to that. There's better lighting here because this is where the light's at. But anyways, we have the same issue with the corner cab and the whole panel being rusted at the bottom. We don't know what the inner panel looks like, but I can safely assume that it's gonna be just as bad. Now, I did gain some knowledge and experience, so hopefully this one turns out a lot better. I will watch out for my cuts. I know that was one of the biggest things that I needed to pay attention to. Looking at my cuts, doing better measurements. And yeah, other than that, guys, I want to say this just about wraps up the passenger side rocker panels. Again, there's still body work that needs to get done, but I will showcase that once it's finalized and primered up, so you can see how the final outcome looks like. So stay tuned for the other side, and then there's still some fiberglass repairs to come and a little bit of more body work that's needed on this cab right here. So guys, stay tuned. Comment, like, subscribe, and let me know what else y'all like to see, guys. Peace.